Maseches Kiddushin. We are in Daf. We are in Daf of Gimel Amud Aleph, and we're in the middle of the page. We are in the Machlokes, explaining the Machlokes and the Mishnah between Rabbi Meir and Rabbanon regarding how an Eved goes free by himself, through others, through himself, money, shtar, everything, Be'ezus Hashem, will be clear. So we should be reading now from the words Omar Abaye. Where we are now in the Gemara is Omar Abaye. We definitely have to give a summary, which will be an introduction. So welcome to everybody here. Welcome to everybody on YouTube in our Torah Anytime channel, Torah Anytime and YouTube channel. And let's just revise what we saw, what we've seen so far. The Mishnah said that when an Eved Knaini, when you have an Eved Knaini and you want him to go free, in case you're allowed to liberate him, to free him, which is not so simple, in case you do, and other people are interested, then what happens? Says Rabbi Meir, if it's done through kesef, in other words, through buying the Eved out of the hands of the master, then money can only be given by other people. That is quite clear. Why? Because the Eved himself, according to Rabbi Meir, can never have his own money. You can't have a situation in which an Eved Knaini, not Ivri, an Eved Knaini can have his own money. So if he wants to buy himself back, there's no such thing as buying himself back. Only other people can give money to the master. The Eved is worth 3 million shekels. Give 3 million shekels to the Odoin, and then he'll free him, and that's only done through others. So when Rabbi Meir said others, it makes sense. Okay, others and money through himself, there's no such thing. Now, what about shtar? Shtar, we said shtar can be given to himself. The shtar can be given to the Eved himself. Forget about the money now. Let's say the other alternative way to free an Eved is to give the Eved the shtar, an affidavit. A shtar that says you are free. There's all specific text. You write how you free your slave, and that is a shtar shichur. He becomes not your slave, he becomes a full Jew. All very nice. Who do you give it to? Says Rabbi Meir, give it to him. What does it mean to him? Well, it's a chiddush. Chiddush is you give it to him. That is to say, although there's a very, very big chicken and egg question over here. Yeah, how can an Eved receive his own shtar? Why? Because an Eved doesn't have a yad. An Eved doesn't have his own authority at all. He doesn't have a hand to receive anything halachically. And therefore, when the Odoin frees the Eved by giving him the shtar, then what happens first? In other words, if you tell me that the Eved has a yad to receive the shtar, the get, that's wrong. Where's his yad? He's still an Eved. Elamai, only once he'll be free, then he'll get the yad. But how could that be? What happened first? Him becoming a free person or him owning a yad? That's a chiddush gadol. That's a very, very unique chiddush. I assume the chiddush is almost Gzeras HaKosov. There's a lot of Iyun written about it. But basically, we say Gito v'yodo b'em ke'echod. His get, his liberty, and his hand, his ability to get the shtar, they come in one go. That's a chiddush that the shtar can be given to himself. So far, so good. The problem in Rabbi Meir is as follows. The Braisa said that according to Rabbi Meir, a shtar can be given to him, but shtar cannot be given through other people. Let's say I'm a very nice liberal liberator of slaves, and I want to receive the shtar on behalf of the slave and not the slave himself. Yeah, the slave himself is not aware of it. I cannot do that. Why? Says Rabbi Meir, and that's the third concept of Rabbi Meir. The Meir says that it's ein chovin lo'odem shelo b'fonov. For an Eved, it's a choiv. It's something which is considered to be to his detriment. It's something which is a disadvantage for the Eved from his point of view to be free. And therefore, Baruch Hashem, he wants to stay an Eved. So if he wants to, why does he want to stay an Eved? Because he gets an easy life. He gets as many women as he wants. He's not limited as a Jewish person. He gets as much food as he wants for free. Not that he get a lot of food, but let's say he's an Eved of a Kohen. He gets a Truma of the Kohen. So for him, it's not an advantage. And therefore, other people cannot actually get the shtar. Him means only him. After we debated, we came out with only him, and no others can do the shtar, can receive the shtar for him. That's a very, very big problem, Because by money, we said other people may give the Odin the money without his knowledge, without him being aware, right? And that's okay. How come? That's where we're stuck. That's where we're last time. So let's just summarize the question now. We all know that ein chovin odom shelo befonov. Let me just stress that. I cannot be a well-wishing person and try and help others and let's say do things for them without their knowledge or without their consent, without them knowing, and that thing, that transaction is something against them, something that would make them chayiv. Yeah, let's say the shtar choiv. The Shtar Chov says that Yaakov, Yosef owe 10,000 shekels to someone. I cannot work on their behalf. Who says they want the Chov? Who says they want that, right? So the same thing with the Eved. How could it be that the Eved who is not happy with being free, how can other people free him? And we said it means without him knowing. How could that be? That's going to be Machlokes Abai and Rove. And in the chart, it's called Abai Verove. Yeah, in the chart, yeah, that's the first part of the chart. According to Rameir, others, you may be free with money, Abai against Rova. So let's see. How does that work? Says the Gemara, we're now starting today's Shiur, Chav Gimel Amud Aleph. Omar Abaye, Lo'olam Shalom Midaitoi. True, we're talking here that it's Shalom Midaitoi. The Eved is not aware or may not be even necessarily interested in becoming free. However, V'shayni Kesef, money is different. Which means, you know why it is true that money can be given to the Odin against the will of the Eved in order to free him? Because guess what? Money, just like money brought him into slavery against his will. Who said he wanted to be an Eved? He was bought. He was bought by the Jewish master. Nobody asked him then. So just like the Kesef brings him into Avdus, not necessarily willingly so too it can get him out of the Odin without him being interested. That's how it works by Kesef. The obvious question is, Yochi Shtar Nami. Same thing by Shtar. Why tell him the Shtar it's only him and not others? Because he cannot work against his will, behind his back. Shtar is exactly the same thing. Because Shtar also, how are you koinen Eved? By Shtar. Kesef Shtar v'chazoko. Same thing exactly. If you're telling me that the way in and the way out are the same by Kesef, the way in, the way out should be the same also by Shtar. And therefore by Shtar, just like Shtar, he became an Eved through Shtar against his will, he should become a non-Eved through Shtar. Answers the Gemara, Hai Shtor Lechud, Vai Shtor Lechud. Each Shtar is different. You can't compare, as we already saw by women, by the way, you can't compare the Shtar of becoming an Eved to the Shtar of going out. Of exiting Avdus. They're not the same shtar at all. What do you mean shtar? It's like saying we're both the same because we both work. One guy's a street cleaner, the other one is an architect, ma'kesher. And what does one have to do with the other? This shtar is a shtar where it says the text of the shtar is you're becoming my eved, and that shtar is telling you you're becoming my non-eved. It's the opposite. You can't learn one shtar from the other. Mashenken money what? Mashenken money frag the Gemara ochanami. By money too, not every money is the same. In other words, yeah, this money was given to the Odin in order to buy the Eved, and that money was given in order to exit, in order to free the Eved. So how can you learn from one money to the other type of money? I would also say that they're not the same. So why is it by money you say that others can do it without his will in a way to force him out? Why? Because it's the same money? It's not. Yeah, that was $2 million. It wasn't the same money, not the same serial number, $2 million, and not the same $2 million. Answers the Gemara, Tiva miyachadu. Money, at the end of the day, it's the same, because dollars are dollars and shekels are shekels. The money is the same money. By the shtar, it's really very, very different. This shtar has one kind of text, and that shtar has a different kind of text. It's completely different, absolutely nothing to do with each other. Money is the same money, even if it's not exactly the same coins, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing. And that's why, says the Kitzur Abai says that money is the exception to the rule. According to Rabbi Meir, yeah, Rabbi Meir says that even others, yeah, can be, no, excuse me, wrong. Only others can be koine. Why only others can be koine with money? He doesn't have his own money. Why do other people can be koine him with money, can give money without his will, without his consent? That's how money works. Kind of xeras. Money brought you into the avdus, money gets you out of the avdus, and both are against your will. Shtar is different. By shtar, coming in and coming out through shtar is intrinsically different. The way in, you're forced. The way out should be your choice. And your choice as an Eved, we assume, is not to want it. And Chanami, if the Eved wanted and said clearly, I want to be free, I don't like the Shifcha Knanis, I want to be a good Jew, I want to be out of the sight of this horrible Balabais, whatever, then other people can work on his behalf. But that's not the story here. We are right before the two dots. Chaf Gimel Amud Aleph, we're just before the two dots. Rove Omar, the second two dots on the page. Rove Omar, Rove says now something very lomdus. Says Rove, Kesef, by money, you know what's the difference between Kesef and Shtar? You know by Kesef it can be forced and by Shtar cannot be forced. Very, very, very lomdish thing. Kesef, Kabbalas Rabbi Gormaloi. Shtar, Kabbalas Acher Gormaloi. Which means, by Kesef, why is he free? Why is he free, the Eved, when the Odin received the money? You know why? Because the Odin received the money. The people who gave money to the Odin, they are not the ones who are freeing him. They gave the money to the Odin. Once the money is in the hands of the Odin, Gor Maloi, what caused him to be free is the fact the Eved said, that the Odin says, I received the money, you go free. You're free to go because I received the money. Is the Odin supposed to work on behalf of the Eved? Mapitom. He's from the other side. He's not somebody who's on the Eved side. So obviously, what's wrong? Obviously, if the Kesef was received of Balabais against you, Balabais does many things against your will. Or forget about Eved and Odin. Yeah, let's say you are dealing with a company, with somebody, and you have some kind of issue with them. Yeah, a legal issue, right? Your lawyer supposed to do what's best for you, but the other side, no, they do what's best for them. That's where the Odin is. I'll explain it soon again, but let's first see the other side. Mashenkin, when it comes to shtar, when does he become free? When they receive the shtar on his behalf. Mark the words, on his behalf. Are you my lawyers? Are you my helpers? You coming to work on my behalf? And your yad is like my yad? You coming to work on my party, for my party? You can't do that because you're working against me because I don't want to be free. It's a gewaltig answer. Let's again repeat. When you have a lawyer, you expect your lawyer to obviously work when for you. Yeah, right? Your lawyer does something against your will, you go crazy. You call him, what are you doing here, right? The Schenken, the lawyer of the other side, or the other spouse, law lane, or the other, I don't know, apartment owner, the Kablan, of course the lawyer of the other side is working against you. That's what he's paid for. Are you expecting otherwise? Are you in the La La Land? That's exactly what's happening over here, which is beautiful. Again, says Rabbi Meir and Eved, we assume does not want to be free. Gesundheit. Now, if you are well-wishing and you are interested in helping the Eved, when you receive the shtar, your hand to receive a shtar, and you're a free person, you're a slave liberator. So nice. You're working on behalf of the Eved? You're not. You're working against what he wants. Unless he tells you otherwise, how are you working on his behalf? And therefore, by shtar, only him and not them. The Sheikh by Kesef, you know where they can work? They're giving the money to the Odin, and the Odin frees him. Of course, the Odin frees him against his will. The Odin is the other side. The Odin also told him yesterday to clean the bathroom against his will, and the Odin bought him against his will, and the Odin is the other side. Are you really, excuse me, nuts? You expect the other person, the other side, to working on your side? He's not. He is the Betty. He's on the other side. Of course, him receiving the money will free you against you. He doesn't want to do the other. But it's not Chovin Odin Shlo Befonov. He's Chovin because he's against you. He's the other side. Maybe the Odin thinks it's good for you to be free and become a mensch and put on tefillin and stop playing with women. That's the whole idea, yeah? That's besides the point. But that's very, very clear. So that's Rov and Abaye. They both tell you, one second, I saw you. Both Abaye and Rov, they both say, they both explain Rabbi Meir, the exception to the rule is with the money. Money, only others can work for him, right? Why can others work for him? Because by money, yeah, either because of wise reason or other reason, it's an exception to the rule. And although it's to the detriment, it's a choiv, they may give money to the Odin against the will of the, or at least without the knowledge of the Eved. That is Rabbi Meir. So now we can tick a box called Rabbi Meir. We explained Rabbi Meir in the Mishnah. We'll now explain Chachomim, and another opinion will all of a sudden evolve, and then we'll summarize all three opinions, which are, by the way, written in the chart. While Ellen is asking his question, our viewers online can see the beautiful chart. Yes.
I understand the money part.
Kiddushin Rav Chav Gimel Amud Aleph v'Chachomim oimer b'kesef al yidei atzmoi. Let's just see what Chachomim say. What did Rabbanan say? I call them Rabbanan, I should call them Chachomim. Chachomim say the opposite of Rabbi Meir, seemingly. Money, he himself can give money for himself, al yidei atzmoi, and shtar al yidei acherim. Shtar, yeah, if other people receive shtar on his behalf, then he goes free. How does that go? Okay, that's just the words of Chachomim. B'kesef al yidei atzmoi in, al yidei acherim loi. The assumption is that the statement is exclusive. Only he can get through kesef, and other people are not allowed to free him through giving money to the Odoin. Why not? Why not? Why can't they give money to the Odoin without the knowledge of the slave? Well, you're going to tell me he doesn't know about it and he's not happy about it. Says the Gemara, excuse me. Don't mix Rabbi Meir and Rabbanon. What did Rabbi Meir say? That the Eved is unhappy. We assume, unless known otherwise, Eved behefker nichalei. An Eved wants a life of being hefker, promiscuous. Chachomim say otherwise. Michdi shamanu l'Rabbanon. We've heard already Rabbanon saying in Maseches Gittin around Daf Yud Yud Beis, the Amri. Chachomim say zchus sheyetze mitachas yad rabbi lecherus. Chachomim say it's a zchus, it's a merit, it's a good thing. Yeah, it's Eved's rights and advantage to go out of the hands of his Rav to Cherus. I remember the Magichur explained to me when I was in Yeshiva, Chachamim know that the Eved wants to be a mufkar. It could be the Gemara in Gittin. I haven't seen Gittin lately, but whatever the source is, of course Chachamim know that the Eved wants to be a hefker dikkin. Not all of them are tzaddikim. He wants to be with the women all the time and not having to put on tefillin. But we know what's good for him. Since Lamaisa, yeah, it's better for a person to be in a spiritual level that's higher spiritual level, we know that what he wants is really to be a free person. That's what's really good for him, not what he thinks is good for him. So the Maisa, for him, it's considered a good thing. Betanina, and we learned in the Mishnah over there in Gittin, Zochin la'odam shaloi befonov, ve'en chovin lo ela befonov. That's the famous line which we'll be saying all the time. One may zochin, you may work for a person for the benefit and the advantage of a person without his knowledge, without him knowing about it, unless he protests, of course. And you cannot create a choiv, you cannot create something that's a disadvantage for him unless his presence is present and interested. So wait a second. So something here doesn't make sense. Why are you telling me that money, only he can buy himself with money and others can't? Why not? Let them give money to the Odo, and we assume the Eved is happy about it, and we know that he's really happy. The Chitema, unless you tell me, it's the same game again. My alidei atzmoi, af alidei atzmoi. Oh, maybe him. What's a question we have all the time to this whole sugya? Shall we put the word only or the word even? Is him buying himself with money inclusive or exclusive? That's the question. So maybe it's inclusive. Af alidei atzmoi, even himself. Surely others can be coining him with money. Even he can be coining himself with his own money. Oh, and that's a chiddush. The Kamash Malan, it's a big chiddush to say that an Eved is coining with his Eved's own money. Was he does? Yes. Kamash Malan, the Yeshkinyan Eved Veloy Rabbi. As we're going to see in Amud Beis, the Gemara will elaborate. The Gemara believes, and that's a maskono, that according to Rabbanon, an Eved does own things, as I wrote in the chart. An Eved has ownership, according to Chachomim. An Eved, according to Chachomim, who are in the chart, the bottom row. Yes, Eved has limited ownership. At the moment who thinks an Eved has ownership, has stuff, and therefore he can go free, paying his own money. And we said even him, who usually doesn't have money, in this case, for reasons we'll see later, he can own his own money and give it to the Odoin. Okay. Now, okay. 1 second. Okay. If so, aim a seifa. Look at the seifa of Chachomim. What does the seifa say according to Chachomim? Shtar is by others. What does it say there? B'shtar lidei acherim v'lo lidei atzmoi. The assumption is shtar, other people can give him a shtar. He himself cannot receive his own shtar. That's what we think now, because we always like the statements if we can't to make them exclusive. Others may get the shtar for him. He himself does not have the ability to receive his own shtar shichur. Why? Yeah. V'akai malan, right? V'akai malan, and we know. Yeah, that's not true. The Gita v'yodo boin ke'echod. That's not true. It's not true that he cannot receive the shtar by himself. we believe, like that's a common denominator between Rabbi Meir and Chachamim, that Gita v'yoda b'hem ke'echod. An Eved may receive his own get, although it's very, very crazy to understand the idea how that happens. But we all know, and Rashi says that's what's mikubal, that's accepted halachically, that the Eved's get and yad come together. It's a chicken and egg in one go. It's A and Z together at once. He receives the get. How can he receive? He's not free. He becomes free. What happens first? They all happen together. If so, clearly we know, and Kaimalan says Rashi, Maisim b'chol yom, that's how we paskin. We paskin, Gitav also by a woman, we say that sometimes, yeah? Gitav yad b'hem ke'echod. So others is not only others is even others. Even others can get his shtar, and he can also get the shtar because he has the ability to become an owner and a free person at the same time. The chitema, yeah, so now that's difficult. The chitema, mai alidei acherim, af alidei acherim. Maybe alidei acherim means both, also alidei acherim, v'akamashim l'deschus alevet shetzim ed rabbi lecherus. Okay, very good. I already said it before. I jumped the gun a little bit. In other words, others may mean what? Others, even others. Yeah, we're teaching two things, even others and also him. In one statement, we're learning two things. A, other people can get the shtar for him because it's a schus for him, as opposed to Rabbi Meir. Other people may work on the behalf of the Eved without his knowledge because that's good for him. If I walk down the street and I see an envelope with $10 million and I'm makbia, I'm coining it without your knowledge, without the knowledge of Shlomo, yeah, I assume Shlomo wants $1 million. Why not? Yeah, you know what the Meister goes. Yeah. So then I work for Shlomo without Shlomo knowing. The shaken if it's a choiv, I want, very nice. Others may be coining stuff for the Eved, stuff. What's the stuff? Himself, his freedom. And that is what by others. What about himself? Also, Gita v'yoda b'hem ke'echod. It's all in the chart. Gita v'yoda, he himself can also be koine because his hand and his freedom come together. Wait, what about money? Also, we said even him, right? If you followed the Mahalach till now, we said by shtar also, by money also, even him can be koine, meaning other people, of course, they can give the odin for to free him. I'm allowed to work behind the Eved's back for his benefit, shtar, money, credit card, shtar, anything. What's the problem? And what about he himself? Chachamim believe that an Eved may have his own money. So everything is so perfect, but there's a big problem here. Ihochi, if everything is so nice and homogenic and amazing, if so, narvinu v'nitninu. Why did he make two statements? When I say even him and even others, you basically, what are you saying? In the chart, it's written better. Both him and others can be coined with money, his freedom, and both him and others can be coined by shtar. If so, why did you make it two statements? Why did you turn that into stylistically it's wrong to now write that in two statements, right? Why did you write money, him, and shtar others? Stylistically, it's very wrong. Tell me, is the following statement right? I'm telling you, I have two eyes, but you have one nose. It's factually kind of true, but it's misleading. It's true the Baruch Hashem two eyes. It's true you have one nose, but it's not exactly true to say I have two eyes, but you have one nose. Because we both have Baruch Hashem two eyes and one nose. So why are you dividing things that are absolutely all the same, right? Why can't you just generalize them into one big statement? Look what the Gemara is suggesting. Now vinu, what's me'orav? Mix them all together, v'nitninu, and you should write them in the Mishnah like that. Bekesef u'bishtar. Finished. You should write both money and shtar, both but through him and through others, one big chagiga, everyone together, right? Why did you divide it into two statements according to Chachamim? Ella, and therefore, now comes a huge machlokes rishonim. I'll just read the Gemara for now. Ella. Therefore comes the third opinion. Opinion of Rav Shimon Elazar. What does Rav Shimon Elazar say? Bekesef alidei ela, yeah. Bekesef al ben alidei acherim, ben alidei atzmoi, which means we are now, according to Rashi, mixing two opinions. We have to see the Rashi inside. Not right now, but soon. The story is as follows: Bekesef ben alidei acherim, ben alidei atzmoi. When it comes to money, yes, both him and others can be koine. He has his own money, right? he can't have his own money there, but according to Chachamim, we're going to see in Amud Beis how that can happen. And also, other people may free him with money because it's for his good. I'm allowed to work behind your back if I'm doing just good things for you. If it's for your benefit, great. What about the Seifa? Okay, now on purpose, Rab Shimon ben Elazar, that's going to be the new Tana here, Rab Shimon ben Elazar, and I'm going to talk about Shtar. Yeah? The Shtar, here comes the big news. Alidei Cherim v'lo alidei atzmoi. You know the Seifa spoke about Shtar, not about money, because the Seifa of Chachomim, the Seifa of the second statement, follows the opinion of Rabbi Elazar that says that a shtar, an eved may not receive his own shtar, only other people may receive it for him. And therefore, according to Rabbi Elazar, when we say shtar, we meant only others. Only others, bishtar, and that's Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Only others. Yeah? Why only others? Only others. How come an eved can receive his own shtar? Yeah? It's mental acrobatics to understand how it can be that his freedom and his way to get the freedom come together. Yeah. Says Rabbi Shimon Elazar, you know what? I don't believe in that hocus pocus. I just don't believe it. You know, yeah, it's just too hard for me to understand. Says Rabbi Elazar, the Tana Rabbi Shimon Elazar Oimer, Af b'shtar lidei acherim v'lo lidei atzmoi. Says Rashi, you know why? Because he does not believe in Gita v'yoda boim ke'echad. Wow. Yeah, in other words, he believes really that when it comes to shtar, that the only ones that may receive the shtar are just others and not he himself. Okay? Now, the sholosh machloikus badovo, there are it's a three-facet machloikus. There are three opinions here in the Mishnah. I'm going now to the chart, both online, and I hope you kept the shtar chart from last week. Let's look at the chart together. What does Rabbi Shimon Elazar say? Says Rashi, and this part is not mentioned before in the Gemara. Look at Rabbi Shimon Elazar at the beginning. Yeah, others, money can be koine others. Why? Because he believes that's zochin la'odom. So he believes Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar that with money you can always buy. By money, others can buy, and by shtar you can always buy. Excuse me, no, others can only buy. Others can always buy him, either because it's a shtar, and therefore, why not? Zochin Adam Shloi Befonov, and Bekesef, Zochin Adam Shloi Befonov. Actually, in that respect, Rabbi Shimon Elazar is very, very easy. He says other people, he doesn't believe in all these exceptions. Rabbi Shimon Elazar says, I'm a simple man. Pashut, I believe like Chachomim, that other people, when they want to free an Eved, they're doing something good for him, right? Yeah, that's what we learned in American history. Good, nice. And what? The other people may gain him back and give himself back to himself by money or by shtar, givaldig. Now, let's go down to Rabbi Shimon Elazar's second section. What about himself in the bold letters? Money? No, you cannot have the money. Why? Eved does not have his own money. Oh, in that respect, he is like who? Like Rabbi Meir. Yes? Eved, and that the Gemara doesn't say outright, but Rashi makes the cheshbon. Now, what about shtar through himself? Shtar himself. Go to the checker that shtar himself. No. And that's Rabbi Shimon Elazar's big moment. That's his chiddush. His get in his hands do not come at once. He does not believe in that. That's Rabbi Shimon Elazar. Says Rashi, if you really read the Mishnah correctly, when Chachamim said in the Mishnah, money, he gets the money, even he gets the money, that's Chachamim, right? Here it says only others, right? Only others can give him the money, can give the other the money, and not himself, he doesn't have his own money. Says Rashi, the Mishnah said, Kesef lidei atzmo v'shtar lidei acherim. The second statement of the Mishnah is a combination of Chachomim and Rabbi Shimon Elazar. Many Rishonim are very upset with Rashi. They say, how can you cut one sentence into two opinions? But Rashi, I don't know if we have time to see Rashi. I'd like to see it inside very much, but I'm not sure we have time. But basically, Rashi says as follows. Rabbi Meir says very clearly. Rabbi Meir says it's not good for the Eved to be free. No. Eved should not go free without his own knowledge and consent in general. Okay, very good. The shtar, only you can do the shtar. Kesef, exception to the rule. Right? That's a Bain Rova. Why is it that really the Eved may be freed by other people giving money? Let's go with Rova. Rashi passing with Rova. I'm not working for you. Your Eved, your Adon, he freed you against your will. He does many things against your will, right? Now, Rabban Reb Shimon Lozer, when the Mishnah said mani alidei atzmo v'shtar alidei acheim, it's a combination of Chachomim and Reb Shimon Lozer. When it comes to mani, we mentioned Chachomim. Mani, the Chiddush is Chachomim believe is opposed to Abimael, that even the Eved himself may give money because the Eved has his own money. Wow, that's against everybody else. What about Shtar? Only other people may free the Eved, says who? Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Because he believes that really an Eved does not have that hocus pocus, tricky situation. No, you have to get it out of your loop, out of your cycle. That's what Rashi says. If you're an Odon, you want to give a get to the Eved to free him, you have to get out of your authority. If you give it to the Eved, can I free myself? Can I pay myself? Am I going to move the money from one pocket to the other pocket? There's no such thing. If you gave the get to the Eved himself, you didn't get out of your authority. It's Kilud Odin gave the shtar shichu very ceremoniously. I'm hereby freeing my Eved. I'm such a nice guy, giving the shtar from one hand to the other hand of himself. Straight. That's what says Reb Shimon Lazar. It has to get out of that loop. It has to get out of that vicious cycle by giving it to other people who are there instead of the Eved, representing the Eved. Once he gave it to the other people, to the Acherim, only then the shtar can work. Yeah, that's what we say here. That's what we say here. And I would actually, yes, continue now at this point. Omar Rabba, my Tamed Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Why is it Reb Shimon ben Elazar really doesn't believe in the Eved receiving his own get? Yeah. Why do we say that somebody else has to get it? Yeah. Goma la meisha. Yeah. Yeah. Why? Because we learn, this is the famous Gzar Shava, it says, because of lo sefer krisus, yeah, by woman you should write to her a sefer krisus, and by shifcha also it says lo, shloshelu lo yaseh lo, I think that's a posuk. Since it says la by woman and la by a Eved, we learn Gzar Shava from one to the other. Ma isha at get l'shus she'ena shaloi, af Eved nami at get l'shus she'ena shaloi. Let's read this Rashi and understand that. Says Rashi, she'ena shaloi, the last line in the page. Dichtiv, by woman it says, v'nosan beyodo. How does one divorce a wife if needed, lo leinu? When is that? He should give in her hand sefer krisus. Is the hand of the woman, does the hand of the woman belong to the man? No. Says Rashi, the ihi, she lo akni aleba legufa. The woman's body is not owned by her husband. And therefore, whenever the Torah says, give the get to her hand, you're basically telling the Baal, get that get, excuse the pun, get that get out of your authority, out of your cycle, out of your ownership by getting it, siphoning it, and out of the loop, out of your system into her hand. And her hand does, even if all her money belongs to you, her hand does not belong to you. So too an Eved should, but an Eved that won't work. To nosan beyodoi of the Eved won't work because the Eved's hand belongs to you. The Eved hands belong to you. Remember, we had that when we learned it in Bava Metzia about the guy who picks the fruit in his friend's field, right? His Eved is like himself. Your Eved's hand is mamish like you, and therefore, when it comes to an Eved, then you can't give it to the hand of the Eved. It's as if you gave it to your own hand. So what do? She'ena shel why? Because and therefore, yeah. Says Rashi shel raboy, yeah, shel raboy, full stop. In other words, you have to have other people involved. You have to have Mr. Liberator, Mr. Third Party, Mr. Escrow account. You have to have a third person who's not the Eved. The Odin should get the get out of his system into another person's hand, who is not the Eved, yet does it for the Eved, which is also Chiddush. We're going to see how that works. Because if the Eved doesn't have his own hand, how can he have other people working on his behalf? That will be discussed later in Tosfos. But Lamaisa, since I have me, the Odon, and my Eved, we're all part of the same loop. We're all part of the same business. If I give that get to another third party who works on behalf of the Eved, that would be okay, says Reb Shimon Elazar. Continues Rashi, the Rabbanon Gamri Hachi. Rabbanon also learned the La, but they say, Ma'isha Mekabelas Gito, Af Eved Mekabel Gito. Oh, very good. Chachamim say we also compare an Eved to a woman, but we do it differently. We say, we look at the technical, physical side of it. Just like a woman receives a get into her hand, finished, Megureshes, marry whoever you want, stop bothering your husband. Then what? Then what do we say? Eved is the same. The Torah was Mechandish that an Eved too can be Mekabel the get into his head. How does it work? Good question. The Torah Sama works the magic of Gita v'Yodeh Ke'echad. That's what Chachamim say. So let's summarize. According to, there are three issues here. Gita v'Yodeh Ke'echad is 2 against 1. Both Rabbi Meir and Rabbanan believe that Gita v'Yodeh Ke'echad, and therefore he may receive his own get. Rabbi Shimon Loza says no, he cannot receive his own get. Other issue, does an Eved own his own money? Does an Eved own anything, such as the money? Can he be given money by other people to give the master? I'm now the Eved, I own my own money and I'm giving it now to the Odin to free myself. Does that work or not? Say Chachamim, yes. Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon Loza say no. The third issue, is it good or bad for an Eved to be free? Machloikis. Rabbi Meir says it's bad for the Eved to be free, the way he perceives it. And Rabban Rabbi Lazo say it's good for the Eved to be free. Very nice. And therefore, other people may work on his behalf, generally speaking, even without his knowledge. This is, I think, a good summary of the whole business. You can look in the chart later. And right now, before I answer your question, the topic right now, and I do want to continue to the next page, not say Rashi, because I would like this to be an Amud Yomi. Basically, so the main machlokas right now, which we're going to focus from now on, out of this whole business, is the whole structure is 1 point. What's the machlokas? We're going to focus about the machlokas, whether or not an Eved may receive his own get or not. Do we say, yes, you can receive your own get, even though you're not a free person? Your freedom and your receiving the get come together. Do we or don't we say that? That's going to be now the topic. Yes, Ellen? Now comes Rabbah with a question. Chav Gimel Beis is today's page. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. According to Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, they told us that an Eved may not receive his own shtar. Why? Because an Eved doesn't have a hand to receive his shtar. The only way an Eved can go free with the shtar is where? Is when and where? When others do it for him, receiving it on his behalf. Frek the Gemara. Eved Knaini, mal sheyas shliach lekabel gita miyad rabbi. Can an Eved Knaini make someone, another free guy, can he make somebody else shliach to receive the get from the master? Yeah? Which means, the Gemara is going to elaborate and I'll explain more. Kevin the Gomel la la meisha, keisha, which means, as I told you before, a woman, and actually people online didn't hear that because it was during break. A woman who lives in New York, and her husband is in Bnei Brak. She doesn't want to see his face. She cannot fly. It's war. It's Corona, and it's Schwieger's birthday. Doesn't have a Schwieger anymore. Yeah, and what? And now what? And now she wants to receive her get from the guy in Bnei Brak. She may send a shliach. Tell another man, you be my shliach to receive the get. Once he flies, how many? 9, 12 hours? Yeah, to Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, receives the get in the basin in Bnei Brak on behalf of the woman. At that instant, she is a free woman. She's Megoreshes. He may WhatsApp her straight away. You're free to go, girl. Very nice, without her receiving the get. Because he received it on her behalf. He is her long arm. That's one way of understanding it. We're going to learn Shlichus. Second parak, by the way, is all about Shlichus, very much in detail. Just like a woman may make a shliach, so to an Eved may make a shliach, funnily enough. In other words, although the Eved doesn't have his own hand, but Lamaisa, other people may work on his behalf, right? Says Tosfos, basically what the Gemara is telling me now is that if the Eved made them shliach, he does make it worse. Let's say they would work on their behalf. Let's say they initiated the freedom, the others, yeah? Says everyone, says Rav Shimon Lozer, it's great, it's good, it's benefit. So the fact he made them shliach does make it worse. Made them shliach. Why not? He is adding an extra flavor, saying, you're my shliach. He wants to feel good. Well, why not? You learn lala from a woman. A woman can make a shliach to receive, and an Eved can also make a shliach to receive his own get. Or Dilmar, maybe not. It's not the same. Isha, a woman, dehi matzi makabelas gita. A woman may receive her own get. That's the normal way. If they both live in Bnei Brak and still have tolerable relationship, she goes to Bezin, she receives the get in Bezin of Nisim Karelitz and gives it to her hand. That's a normal way. She has the power, listen to my words, she has the halachic power, the halachic authority to receive a get. Shliach nami matzi meshavya. Of course she can make a shliach. She has the power to receive the get herself. So if she's in Brooklyn right now, she can also make another guy a shliach, and she says, I have the hand to receive the get halachically. Now you be my long hand 12 hours ahead. Aye, but Eved is not like a woman. The Iulomekabel Gite. And Eved, according to Shimon Lazar, may not receive his own get. And Eved doesn't have that power to receive his get. Why? Because he's inside the pocket. He's like they say in Hebrew and Yiddish, he's inside the little pocket of his master. He's part of the master. He cannot receive a get, right? Only others can. So shliach nami lamatzi mishavi. So maybe he cannot make shliach either. Why? Because although others can receive it, they're not exactly working in your shlichus. They initiate it. It's a very big chiddush. It's not the regular case of zchus. They're working, says Tosfos in the second shot, either for or against you. We don't care. They're your liberators. It's a very big chiddush. They're like your hand without your hand. They're a separate entity, works for you independently. But if you make them shliach, you make it worse. You're not adding extra topping on the cake. If you foolishly said, I'm making you shliach, that's bad. Why? Because if you don't have the power, how can you make shliach? There's a very famous Tzos HaChoshen. He says, how does shlichus work? Shlichus works that if I think I said it already once or twice. How does shlichus work that you can take meiser for my fruit? Chutzpah, you take meiser for my fruit? Yes. If I made you shliach and I said, you take meiser for my fruit, I handed you over my halachic koach, my halachic ability to take meiser, I handed it to you. That's part of a big tzos. There's much more to say. Same thing over here by an Eved. Eved doesn't have, but on the other way around, Eved doesn't have the koach to receive the get, according to the second side. So if he makes you shliach, he's making it worse because he's giving you his non-koach. If the guy would work independently, good, and the Eved should close his mouth, to speak nicely. Mashenkin, if David opens his mouth, I'm making you shliach, you're only making it worse because you don't have koyach, so we're making shlichus here. That's the second side. The tutz dodim. Answers the Gemara, Bosa debai hodor pashta. After there was a question by Rabba himself answered the question. La meisha keisha. Wow, surprise! The first side won, which means since we have exeras ha kosuv gzera shovo la meisha, like a woman completely, and Eved is completely like a woman when it comes to receiving a get, which means although an Eved does not have his own koyach to receive the get because he's inside the other's system, nevertheless, since the Torah made it's not xeras, so there is logic to it. The Torah says you're like a woman in respect that just like a woman can make a shliach, so too the Eved can make a shliach, and it's not making it worse. Which means if the Torah said that other people who are not mamish you, they receive the get. If you the shliach, you said if you an Eved, you made them shliach, doesn't make it worse. They can work as if they're your shlichim. There's the second shot in Tosfos, but we don't have time now to explain. If you want to have very, very nice, interesting read, you can look at Tosfos Mao Lasos Shliach. The second Tosfos in the page explains much more, but this is the Poshup shot. So the Eved may make a shliach to. Good. So he does need a koyach. They work stam. They work kilo. The fact he made shlichus is it's like a little. It's like a 2 years old helping you to schlep heavy furniture. That's first shot of Tosfos. Okay, I'll tell you the second shot of Tosfos. The second shot of Tosfos is more lomdus. The second shot of Tosfos is no. That although the Eved himself doesn't have koyach yet, but he works like shlichus, meaning that it has. Okay, I'll go more lomdus here. Are you forcing me? And it's late. Anyways, we're not going to make Talmud today. How does Zechia work? How does Zechia work? There's a big question. How does Zechia work? If I walk down the street, yeah, and I see the same old $1 million envelope, I don't know why, but never happened to me. I found one, but let's say I do, and I really, really like Yitzchak, yeah, and I'm now picking up the envelope of behalf of Yitzchak. Now the $1 million right now, without Yitzchak's knowledge, I don't have your number on me, I don't have the phone on me, and you don't know about it. I picked it up, I did Kinyan Agbo, which does work in the middle of the street. It belongs to Yitzchak. And if the Meforshik Gemara involvement here at the beginning, if I say, no, it's mine, it's not mine. If I was Zoiche in front of two Eidim and I said, this belongs to Yitzchak Reichenberg, it belongs to him, it all sounds very nice and friendly. How exactly does it work? Why? He's not there. He didn't make me shliach. Because we say, what? Because we assume he wants the money, and therefore, it's ki'ilu he was mashaleach me. We envision Yitzchak saying, Akiva, please pick up the $1 million for me. Because his chus is coming from shlichus. That's what the Gemara is saying here, according to Tosfos. In other words, the fact that other people work for him is not completely independent of him. So let's say, according to Rabbi Meir, that says that an Eved is not interested in becoming a free. Oh, that's a big nafkamina. If we say that that it's not similar to shlichus, then they cannot work on his behalf because it's shlichus against you doesn't work. But if you say it's coming mitzad shlichus, then yes, an Eved make shliach, meaning my zchus has to be only with his ratzon, like shliach. But if we say like Rabbi Meir that he's not interested, then the other people will not be able to receive the get. That's what Tosfos says. I would like to a little bit, to continue a bit, and then questions in 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, questions. Another shaila. Be'ela, more on Rab Shimon Lozo. Hadam Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua. There's a question in Maseches Nedorim as follows. Hani Kahani. As we all know, the Kohanim in Beis HaMikdash, please don't say the P word if you want me to stay in the room. Kohanim are called in English Kohanim. Cohen. That's how they're called in this shiur. Hani Kahani, not PR. That's bad PR. Hani Kahani, those Kohanim in Beis HaMikdash. Do you know that Kohanim work in Beis HaMikdash? Alavai, they will very soon. The Kohanim work in Beis HaMikdash on behalf of who? They bring korbanos, or let's say korban tomid. Korban tomid belongs to the Gans Klal Yisrael, to the whole Klal Yisrael, and is brought on behalf of the whole of Klal Yisrael. Well, I never made them shliach. How does it work exactly? Who says that they're my shlichim? There's a question in Maseches Nedorim. A kohen who works in Beis HaMikdash, is he the shlich of Klal Yisrael, or is the shlich of Hashem? Either you paskin the shlich of Hashem. That's good to know. I'm happy to hear that. Ani Kani, okay, good. I'm glad. Ani Kani, the Kohanim. The Gemara here paskins like you. Shluche de Rachmana Ninu, says Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua. That's his opinion. The Kohanim are shluchim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Why? The Isaka datach shluchi didaninu. If you said that the Kohanim are the shlichim, what's didan? Are shlichim. If you said that the shlichim of Klal Yisrael, how could that be? Illogical. Mi'ika midi da'anan lo matzinan avdinan. Is it possible for us to have shlichus, something what's matzinan that we cannot do? We cannot do avodah Beis HaMikdash. You know what would happen to me if I decided to do zrika, kabbalah, zrika, all kinds of avodah Beis HaMikdash? No life insurance for me. Chas v'sholem. Gemara in Git in Sanhedrin Pegimel Amud Aleph says Misa b'yedei shamayim. Oops. So people who are regular folks, everybody here in the room except for Yaakov, So then, if we work in Beis HaMikdash, we cannot work in Beis HaMikdash. In other words, v'inu matzi avdi. In other words, how can they do something for me that I cannot do? Very good. How do they explain shlichus? Right? If I can take truma, I can megarish a woman, chlila. I can do this and that. I can hand over the authority to other people, power of attorneys, so kind of. But if I don't have the ability to work in Beis HaMikdash, which I don't, halachically, how can I give that to another person? And therefore, what must be by default, says Rav Huna, as Ellen was saying very nicely before, that really the shluchim are shluchim of Hashem. They're not ours. It's true that they're working on our behalf in a general way, but the cold halachic litvisha way that it works, the conduit, the way it works, is through Hashem. They're doing the Hashem's job, and Hashem is happy as if I'm also part of the story. But I'm not mamish meshalech the kohanim. Wait a second. We just broke that formula. Veloy? Wait a second. According to what you just said a second ago, we found now that we broke completely the formula of shlichus. Look at that. Va'avda, look at a slave. According to Shimon and Lazar, an Eved may not receive his own get. We don't play the trick of git of yado b'em kechod, and he cannot receive his get, right? Okay, and yet, b'shlich matzi mashvi, and he may make a shliach. And we don't seem to be saying that it's stam, shtus, and nonsense. We say that his shlichus is what makes the other guy work. So we understand right now. And if so, look, you see that something is wrong. He may say, I want the other guy to work only in my shlichus, not as a freelancer, free spirit by himself. And it seems to be working. Why? You, Mr. Eved, is no koch to receive get, and yet you give the koch to another person. How does that work? And if it does work, what's your business with the Kohanim? Maybe, although I cannot work in Beis HaMikdash, I may make the Kohanim shlichim to work on our behalf. Because all of a sudden we see that shlichus is completely different than K'tois HaChoshen. We see all of a sudden that shlichus is what? Something that that even though the Mishalech doesn't have the power, he may ask another person, yes, to do it for him. Answers the Gemara, Velohi, that's not a question. Why? It's not the same thing. Israel lo shaychi b'tos korbanos klal. Israel have nothing, but nothing to do with korbanos. Rashi is being very careful. In other words, oivdin avoid. Of course, we have a lot to do with korbanos. We love them. We bring them up to a point. What can Israel do in Beis Hamikdash? The first shchita. Shchita Israel can do. Israel can do shchita, but past shchita, that's staff only. Misa b'dei shamayim. There's absolutely zero connection between us regular Zorim, Israelim, and working Beis Hamikdash. And therefore, says Ravuna, must be the Kohanim, cannot be our Shlichim. How can it be a Shliach for Israel? You, the Kohen, cannot be Shliach to Israel. Israel is completely out of the picture. Yeah? Does anybody want to be my Shliach to, I don't know, do the hard math? Eved Shaykh Begitin, but an Eved is Shaykh in Gitin. Eved, even according to Shimon Lazar, although he cannot receive his own get, Eved has to do with receiving a get. What does that mean? What it has to do? The Tanya, it says in the Brisa, Nirin Advorim, it seems correct to say, Sha'eved mekabel gita shel chaveroi, miad rabba shel chaveroi, avlo miad rabba sheloi. Okay, rabbis. There are two masters and two slaves, Reuven and Shimon. Let's keep it simple. Reuven owns Abdallah and Shimon owns Salim. Yeah? So now Reuven wants to free Abdallah. Can Salim receive the get of Abdallah for him? Yes. In other words, if the Eved belongs to another master, yeah, he may receive the get as a shliach or as a zoiche in the corner in the side to another Eved. There's no problem with the Eved receiving a get conceptually. It's only impossible to receive from your own Adon because you stay in the same financial authority. Yeah, can you make a bank transfer from one account to the other account of yours? Yes. Can you make from one account to the same account? No. You can't do it. It's all the same. It stays in the family. That's a problem with an Eved. But an Eved conceptually is a person. Of course he can receive a get for another Eved. Yeah. Yeah. Salim is not owned by Reuven. So Salim can receive a get for Reuven's Eved on behalf of Reuven's Eved. That's good. In Mela, we can say, because he's in the Parsha, he's in the story, can also make Shliach. That's the Eved. The Sheker, when it comes to Beis Hamikdash, different story. Beis Hamikdash, we have nothing to do with Avodah as workers, as Mamish Kohanim, and therefore we cannot make the Shluchim, the Kohanim Shluchim. Ad Kan, the two dots. Open for questions now. Question time. Thank you very much to everybody who are with us on YouTube for any time and anywhere else possible. Atzlocho uvrocho. Question time. And people in Zoom can also stay on. Thank you and have a great week full of peace and atzlocha. Yes.